Gareth, obviously we can listen, we can hear the words, but you get more of a feel when you're around the human beings and you're looking into their eyes. What did you take away from your time with the Benns this week?
Utter excitement about going into fight week, Adam. I think being in that gym tucked into the Essex countryside and Nigel Benn talking about his sparring days with Tony Sims, who never, ever forces his views on you. We haven't heard from Tony Sims on the show, but we probably will in the previews next week. He was fantastic talking to me about why he believes Conor can do it, and when they talked about their strategy and when they analysed Chris Eubank, for me it was just fascinating. And there's just an energy around them, and little Eli Clay, who's tattooed on Conor's, just vertically from his ear, just in front of his ear downwards, Eli Clay. And then when you get asked to just watch his son while he's sitting in his Bentley, he started pressing the start button on the Bentley, and I'm looking over at Conor, who's getting some photos done, or was chatting to someone with them. I'm thinking, please don't start the car here, Eli, whatever you do. They're very, Ed, our producer, Ed Huntley, our producer, pointed it out earlier, how they finish each other's sentences. They're so united. There's so much love between them. They're both very emotional characters. It's phenomenal to be around them. And, in a spark, they're suddenly arguing with each other. At the end of that interview, right, and I've done a big interview in the Sunday Telegraph tomorrow with them. Nigel says, I want him to take it easy for 5 rounds and then he'll take over because Chris Eubank Jr.'s a plodder. And I look over at Conor and he's frowning. He's got a grimace on his face. What are you on about? He said, 5 rounds? I'm going to give it to him from the minute. You know what Conor's like? And then you walk away from there thinking, I am so excited about this fight. I'm so excited about this event, regardless of one guy coming up 10 pounds and another guy effectively coming down 8 pounds or so, because it is going to.
Is he too emotional? Because on fight night he's going to have to control it, isn't it?
Look, it's his first real 50-50 or 60-40, however you see him as underdog or favourite. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of boxers, people in America, they love the work rate of Conor Benn, and they just see him outworking Chris Eubank Jr. if he can get beyond 5 or 6 rounds. I think Nigel's very astute on this, Nigel Benn, because if they do get into the later rounds, the fatigue could kick in for Chris Eubank because of the cut he's never done before, or certainly not since he was a teenager 14 years ago. There's all these fascinating layers and nuance, and other boxers have spoken to me this week about how, Maxie Hughes included, who we'll hear later, how you can get down to a certain weight and those last 2 pounds absolutely kill you because you're already dehydrated and weight drained. So it's going to be fascinating through fight week, and they've got a lot of activities. I just thought Conor seemed primed and ready to go, and having Nigel around, he's got that twinkle in his eye. He's always got a smile. I was there with several other outlets and national newspapers, and everyone was getting one-on-ones with them. They're phenomenal to deal with. I tell you, Conor, as you know, Adam, we've been around him enough, he espouses stardom, doesn't he? There's something that comes off him, that espouses stardom. And
as well as that, he doesn't cut corners. He does work hard. He does put it in. He's not one of these that he's in the nightclubs and having a whale of a time. He's an absolute grafter. He lives the life, does the kid. And I know that he will be absolutely 100% prepared for next Saturday. So I've no concerns with him, because I know that Conor, when he was on the show last week, he disagreed with me on this. I personally think that this is a win-win situation for him. He goes in there. If he wins, then his star goes through the roof that he's beaten a guy that is 2 weights above him. If he loses, then there's the reason that he went up 2 weights and he should never have been in that weight category. And he comes back down to welterweight and he continues with his career. I genuinely see that. He disagrees. I get that. But from a Chris Eubank Jr. situation, I am a little bit concerned. Obviously, there is the cut. There is the rehydration, which everybody knows that I'm well and truly against. And I don't see the upside for him. Apart from financially, I don't see the upside from him, because if he beats Conor Benn, then everybody says, well, he's supposed to beat Conor Benn because he's 2 weights below you. He's a smaller guy. And if he loses to him, then all of a sudden his whole career is kind of derailed, because he's on the cusp of doing something quite special at 160 and maybe fighting someone of real prominence and getting himself a shot at a world title. But that will be off the table if he loses to a welterweight.
Yeah, I mean, Look, if he loses to a Ben, is what you actually mean, because that's what this is about. It's a prize fight. It's a fantasy fight gone right. So many people from, even the generation above me were I was in my 20s when Ben and Eubank seniors fought, and it was thrilling then to think that they had these two amazing fights, and that maybe there was a wrong decision in the second fight, and that they went at it hell for leather. They were extraordinary fighters and athletes at the time. Judgment Day, remember, the second fight is Judgment Day, and these two are born rivals as the billing of the event is being broadcast. And I think there's an excitement about this for both men, because you think about promotion of fights. You don't need to do a lot for this. The fathers did it 30 years ago. 3 decades on, it's still living strong in the memory. So in many ways, these two men couldn't say no to this fight. They will both earn much more than they will earn for world title fights. So everything is right on the table. But to answer your question in full, Chris Eubank has all the jeopardy in this fight. He has all the lose-lose, as you say, and in many ways it is a win-win for Conor no matter what happens. I do have Eubank Jr as the marginal favourite, and I said that to Conor in the week. He doesn't like it, but that's just my view. I hope he wins. But the experience lies with Eubank Jr, and if he's in the right shape, he's going to get tested, because Conor Benn means business, and he will come for 12 rounds, and he will come like a whirlwind. He'll come like a whirlwind.
And that's the key thing for anybody that is looking at this fight next week. You would automatically think that the bigger guy is going to beat the smaller guy because of both the talent sets. But the smaller guy doesn't go away. He will keep coming forward. And the bigger guy, traditionally, we've seen, and we saw it earlier this year when he fought Liam Williams, he likes to do a bit for about 4 rounds. He looks fantastic for 4 rounds, and then he goes walking. He goes missing in the middle rounds of a fight. He will not be allowed to do that.
He gets into a rhythm where he wants to box for the first and last 40 seconds of a round, right. And there's no question about that. But I don't think he can afford to do that in this fight. And I think that's where his father's got in his head over it as well.